Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I don't have one person, not my face. We have our celebrity over here. I talked to her before already, that she is the OG trendsetter. We have in her presence today, it's Subi. And why I said you're a trendsetter, because she was the first international nurse that I saw sharing her experience on social media. And when I started, I was like, man, you go through the same things that I went through, some of them too. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about international nursing and the experiences. So we have the celebrity Subi in the hot seat. Yes, and you can find her on all social media, TikTok and Instagram. So before we go in, we already talked already, and we're going to talk about just backtrack a bit. So my first question for you is, why did you leave Jamaica as a nurse?
Well, I always tell people that was always a goal. I graduated from university 2008. The retrogression hit the US that same year.
Oh.
So when I graduated in 2008, and then we got a job in 2009, the US stayed in retrogression for, I think it was 4 years. 2 or 4 years after that. So everything was at a standstill. Everything. People stopped migrating, everything. And so from 2009 to 2011, it was just kind of a lull. And then when it finally opened up back in 2012, it was all those backlog people started going. And so I tried my luck as well. One of the major reasons I decided to leave was there was no growth for me. I was 7 years in and I hadn't gotten appointed yet. I gone to a meeting and found out that your pension doesn't come into play until you're appointed.
Jesus.
I had gone and did the emergency room course, which was I'm really, really grateful for, and still was not appointed to level 1 yet. I had also wanted to go and do my master's, and when I had asked, I was told I wouldn't get any help, and I just couldn't afford it on my own salary. So I think those were the camels that broke the weight that brought the camel's back.
Yes. Girl, that's a whole lot. And you just touched on some of the things that I experienced also. Number one, growth. Same thing like you. I was on my unit for like 5 years, and I just felt like monotonous doing the same thing over and over. And I have to ask, I know when you entered nursing before me, and I know the salary must have been way different and even probably much lower. So I understand when you speak about that. And then I didn't know that you guys had retrogression at that time. Yeah. But I heard that I knew when I was starting nursing, I saw a lot of nurses leaving. I was in like probably 2015. I heard that it was the government that probably shut it down. I didn't know, probably could have stemmed from something else that with the
it had stemmed from the US went into recession. They went into recession, and so they closed off all of the I-140s that were coming in. So that stopped everything basically. So 2015, when you saw everybody leaving, that was the backlog that was leaving. Yeah, they were waiting from them a long time they would leave.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on pension too. Being in the system, not getting pension. I remember in my time, we were in the system and we kept getting letters. I don't know if you used to get that too. Every 6 months, you get letters say, oh, your contract is now renewing, and we were considered temporary staff.
We didn't get that. So we didn't get any contract. We were staff. From what I knew, we were staff. But what happened was that we weren't appointed to level 1. So because you weren't appointed, your pension, you paid into the pension wouldn't kick in until your appointment kicks in. If that makes sense. Because then when you retire, it depends on what level you retire at is the amount that you get at your retirement. So if you retire at a level 1, is a level 1 retirement you get. I don't know how much the pay was at that time, but that was how it worked for us.
Also with regards to going back to school, You said that you wouldn't get any help, but I know that they normally, if you go through the hospital system, they would reimburse you. Not
So
reimburse. Oh,
what I
you-
wanted, they had sent me to school for emergency room nursing because they have an emergency room nurse course. I wanted to go back and do my master's.
oh,
And so I had heard that they had helped a couple people before me, but it was by the wayside. And so when I started looking into it, my finances at the time wouldn't have allowed me to pay my way. And so I went and I asked for help, and they were just like, I think they were doing it before the fact, but then by the time I asked, they were like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So
you mind asking which hospital you worked with, if you want?
Bustamante Children's.
Oh, Boston. I thought you were probably Cornwall Regional or one of those hospitals.
Oh no, no offense. But if I'm being completely honest, I either wanted to go to, okay, so I knew I never wanted to go downtown because Kingston used to live. I never wanted to go downtown. And so they had actually placed me at Victoria Jubilee. If I had that mindset again, I'd probably have stayed down there because the nurses who they and I got placed at the same time, they were appointed before me, way before me.
Oh.
But downtown just always scared me. That was just not my thing. So we had gone back and the lady was just like, oh, I have one spot at Bustamante. Do you want to go? I was just like, yeah, sure. She's like, okay. And I went there. So
you said you didn't mind. I didn't mind downtown, because you learn your street smart downtown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's just that I felt, so for me, and I didn't know that I had, and we're kind of going off on a tangent, so you can let me know. But for me, I think in nursing, you have to know your limit.
Yeah.
KPH is not for everybody.
True.
And a lot of people don't realize that some of the nurses that are down there that are mean and surly, it's because of the environment that they work in.
Yeah.
And your environment can greatly, greatly, greatly affect your mental health.
That is
and I think that's something that we don't really talk about a lot, especially in Jamaica. It's more vocal here in the US, but that is something we don't talk about in Jamaica. And I just know I couldn't, when I went down there for clinicals, it was just not somewhere I could mentally work in.
Yeah.
I just couldn't work down there.
And safety too. I didn't mind it. Clinical wise, it was good experience, good, but safety also. But for me, I worked up in the echelons of Upper St. Andrew.
Upper St. Andrew, okay.
Close to the Blue Mountains, past the first one, and go further up.
Okay.
Yeah, so we talked about Jamaica. We're going to talk about now your experience now transitioning as an international nurse. I know we had to talk about the waiting process, and you said that it had retrogression at that same time. And I know I touched on mental health sometime in a TikTok video. I wanted to ask too, how was your mental health in that waiting process before you left?
So as I said, I think I was really, really chill. Like I was okay with the pay, I was okay with everything. But I think what had happened was my mental health got really, really bad when I realized I failed my NCLEX. I went by myself and failed. And when I came back that summer, when I came back from my vacation after hearing that I failed, I think I was just frustrated. I was just, and a lot of people will say that right before I left, they almost knew I was going to leave because of the fact that I was just really, really upset. Like me, I get in a problem with the patient, then me and them, of course, like it started to affect me. And a friend of mine actually saw a ad in the paper, and she was just like, she realized that I'm frustrated, and she knew I failed my NCLEX as well. So she was just like, try and see, because they were taking nurses in Turks and Caicos. And she was just like, why you not apply and see? Maybe I change the environment. Are you one, you're not nobody, see what happened. And that was how I left. But that waiting period, I think, was alleviated by the fact that I went to Turks and Caicos. Right. So then the waiting period never seemed that bad after that, because I was in a whole new environment. I was making more money.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't care what anybody wants to say, the money does help to sweeten the pot. So
yes. And I think the change in environment does it too. And that was something I was saying too, because I know we have retrogression going at the same time, like probably can change your environment. Because if I had known, I went through a retrogression process also, showing up to work late. Sometimes sister will be like, Lindsay, that's my last name. And I'm like, sis, send me home, just send me home.
Yeah. You're just frustrated.
Yeah. And you know, they're not sending you home because they need you on the unit. So it really does affect you, change of environment. That's something that I said, if I had known about those small islands, that's something that I would have done also.
Right.
All right. So we talked about the waiting process. I want to know now, how was your experience coming to the US and working as an international nurse?
So I passed my NCLEX in 2016. So it took approximately like 1 year in total from passing NCLEX to landing. The process, I think for me, I think my mindset was different. I hear a lot of the complaints of the nurses now, and I get it.
Yeah.
And I also said to people that I was single. I don't own a house in Jamaica. I had sold my car, and I was living my best life. So the mindset for me was me to just want my green card.
Yeah.
So whatever they want to do with me, how much ever they want, whatever you want to pay me, as long as you give me that piece of card, that was a way to do whatever it is I wanted to do. A lot of people don't see it like that. Oh, they need for more money. They need for, and I get it. I agree. But I think that coming up the way I did, it opened my eyes to a lot of things, that the whole process is a business.
Yes.
You can't put emotion into it and say, them wicked, they must pay me more money. No one cares about that. It's a business. And if you sign a contract, it is important that you ask your questions, and it is important that you read your contract. Because the contract is legally binding. So for you to come back now, and when you come to the US and them say, okay, we're giving you $30 an hour, and you're just like, yeah, but Lindsay, I get $50 an hour. They don't care about that. What's the contract that you signed? The contract that you signed was for $30 an hour. And people think I'm unfair and like, you don't understand. I do understand, because in your mind, you are looking at $30 as being 4,000 Jamaican dollars.
Right.
You can't like that, because here in the US, a dollar is a dollar is a dollar. Right. And so for me, there was nothing that my company could have done that would have dampened the fact that I had my green card in my hand. And I tell people, although I still I don't have it anymore because I'm a citizen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But before, my group that came up with me, I told them, let's all make a copy of our green card and put it in our purses. Right. I said, when we get frustrated and overwhelmed, pop that green card out. This is the reason why we're here. It now lasts forever. Yeah. And I was just talking to a couple of the young ladies that we still talk from every now and again, and they're just like, Sue, you remember when you told us to do the green card, but still have a green card? And I said, yeah. And I mean, it softened the blow. So like when we were frustrated or overwhelmed, or pop your green card out. So for me, my process was, people say, oh, your process was easy. It wasn't. I came up, I had prayed and told God that I did not want to be sitting in the house for more than a month. And almost a month to the day, a day to the month, I got a job in Chinle, Arizona, in the middle of nowhere. Everybody and their mother tell me not to go out there. All the nurses, every last one of the nurses that were sitting there told me it was the worst place. Why you make them send you around there? Don't go around there, And everybody discouraged me. Every single person discouraged me from going. I said, well, God, I'm praying now, and I do one work, may I go. So when I went, landed in Phoenix, and had a 6-hour drive to the place.
My God.
Phone service cut off because it's in the middle of nowhere. And I saw cows on the side of the road. I was like, what is this madness? Where is this? I get to the hotel, and the hotel is like one little kuch-up place. I tell people it never look like America. I look like I was somewhere else, completely somewhere else. And of course I cried a bomb. I literally cried. So I was like, what is this? Anyways, when I met my boss, sweetest woman that you'll ever meet. So sweet. And we talked, and I told her about, just how I was feeling, overwhelmed, the lack of transition or whatever. And she's like, you'll be okay, whatever. So I was working on a pediatric unit there in Chinle. And I was there for 6 months. Of course, I'm an ER nurse. And
Yeah.
I said to her, we had started to have a good rapport with her. And I was just like, you don't need me to like cross train in the ER department. I mean, I could go down there and do, a couple days. And she was just like, you want to do that? Yeah, sure. Boom. She sent me down there and I started gaining experience. And so I did 6 months there, and then I was able to let MedPro know that I wanted to go to a bigger city. I don't know what I do that for.
You're lucky to get that because they don't normally move you.
They moved me. And that's also my thing is I said to people, again, this is my own experience. But I've had people reach out to me by DMs, and sometimes it's not what we say, it's how we say it.
Yeah.
And so they moved me. I asked to be moved and I was moved. And it wasn't just me. Almost everybody who was in that Chinle area, once we got to our year of experience, they were good to move us. Like 6 months to a year, they were like, okay, y'all want to move? That's fine.
I think it depends on the company, because I know with my company, which was OGP, they don't move you unless it's erroneous. Something happened.
Right.
And I normally tell people mental health, yeah, they will move you.
Right. So they moved me. And again, what I feel like that was the worst decision I've ever made. But I did also gain experience. They moved me to New York.
Wow.
Moved me to New York. And everything changed. Cost of living went up.
Yeah.
I had to deal with the snow. The people were not nice. So it was much more cutthroat when you got into the city as opposed to where I was in Arizona. And people were just, the workload was definitely a lot more when I got into the city than in Arizona. And so I was there in New York for 16 to 18 months. And then COVID hit and they furloughed all of us. So I was home now for a month. And I called my boss again in Arizona and I was just like, do you have a space in the ER I can come back? She's like, sure, just let MedPro know and you can come on back.
That's
so
a great boss.
Yeah. Right? I went back. I had to stay in a hotel for a little bit, but then she ended up finding a housing for me. Was like $800, all expense paid, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath with a washer and dryer. And so I was able to save money. And I finished off my contract there. And then I switched over to being a travel nurse.
Wow. Yeah. Can I say something? I think you're blessed. There is a light on you, because to move from one place, to move, go back, and you just get all of those lined up for you.
Yeah,
consider yourself blessed. And thing about it, I like how you speak up, and I like what you say. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. I think that's some of the issues I see when we come here, based on my experience working with other persons. We know it's a business, and I think we're just afraid to speak up. We're afraid of what people may say, and we have our confidence. And I think like working with other persons, sometimes we want to just hold back a bit, but you have to speak up. And I normally tell people that, because if you don't speak up, you'll get walked over.
Right. Very true. Very true.
I like the fact when you spoke about your saying that you had your green card, you kept looking at it, and it brought me back when I always tell people, know why you're leaving. You had your aim, you had your purpose, you said you wanted your green card, know why you're leaving, whether it's education, you're coming here to better yourself, because when it gets hard and difficult, let me tell you.
It did. I remember one time I was living in the hotel for a little bit when I went back to Arizona. And I had a friend of mine who allowed me to cook at her apartment, and then I'd bring the food back to the hotel. And I brought the food back and the food spoiled. And I had a whole meltdown. I just start bawling. I just sit in the beginning of the hotel, I just cry my eyes out. And I was just like, I'm crying over spoiled food.
I would cry too.
I just cried that whole day. And I called my boss and I said to her, I was like, I can't come in today because I'm not feeling well. Because I just couldn't gather myself. I could not get myself together. I think it was just everything just came down. I just couldn't gather myself. And she was just like, okay, well, if you can't come in, that's okay. Write it as an absent. But when I open the food and smell the food, so the food spoiled,
My God.
Bah!
Thirsty. So is that one of the cries? I know it gets hard here. Work becomes overbearing, managing family, everything. And I had those days, but I didn't reach a point where I was crying. I just had to call somebody and say, hey, this happened to you? And she said, yes, my bad girl. And she said, grab your Bible, go down the night. You know? So I understand with that. I do have those meltdowns too, but that's in the car and stay in the car.
Right, right.
So we talked about retrogression and all of that. I know you said you went to Arizona, right? And everybody told you not to go. Did you have any deciding factors, or you just said, this is my first job, I'm going to go?
I had asked God for the job. I told him I wasn't going to sit down for more than a month.
Okay.
And it was a day to the month that I got the call. And it was the only call I got.
Oh.
I only got one interview because I was coming from a pediatric hospital. They did look at my experience from Turks and Caicos, but Turks and Caicos was a really tiny hospital.
Yeah.
And so they never really counted it as much. And so it was my only interview. And me can't do that money.
No.
And so before, MedPro now pays you while you're waiting. Before, they never usually pay us.
Oh.
So you were just sitting down there not making money. And me, I feel I make my money.
Yes, girl.
Girl have to look good.
Yes.
And so them said to me, say, if you go, you start get paid. Me go.
Yeah, you have to take it. I know with OGP, they don't do that. So you're just sitting there waiting. For me, I think I did 5 interviews because I had my deciding factors. But I understand. But I was still in my job in Jamaica while, waiting for that. So, but I know that you're very confident you're out there. Everybody tell you not to go and you still go Arizona. We understand why. And I like your spirit with that. All right. So how long, I know you went with MedPro. How long was the contract?
3 years. 3 full years.
3 full years. Once again, I applaud you for that, honey. What are my deciding factors? No more than 2. I don't think I can manage it. And I know quite a number of persons who went with your company and they even left the contract because they couldn't do it.
As I said, for me, it changed over the years. When I went, they were the only company that was taking nurses from Bustamante.
Okay.
After when I signed with them, OGP started to take people from Bustamante, but before they weren't taking anybody. Like you put down Bustamante, they were just like, yeah, no, you need adult experience. And so as I told you, I was ready to go. Like I had nothing left in me. I was ready to. So my first opportunity, and I was out of there. And 3 years for me, again, I am single, so I get it for people who want them freedom. I never feel I need no freedom over the 3 years. I used the 3 years to 1, finish my master's, and 2, to perfect my skills. So I'm a slower learner. So the 3 years I felt prepared me enough. Again, as I said, everybody is different. Right. I know living has gone up, but I know with MedPro I traveled a lot, even and still paying my bills and still traveled. I'm still saved. I still send money to Jamaica, but everybody's situation is different. Yeah. But I was fine. And I'm not a 2-job girl either. People ask me all the while if I don't have a PRN. I do not, because I've done my 16 hours 4 times for the week. I'm burnt out. So I only have 1 job in 36 hours. I may do a little extra, but I just live in my means or below, because anybody trying to be in somebody's hospital more than 36 hours.
Yeah. Girl, when you say you don't have a PR, I'm like, what?
I don't.
Yeah. Even when you were on contract?
No. And I was traveling to Hawaii, and I was traveling to Jamaica. I went to Jamaica every year, and I went to Miami almost every 6 months, and I still paid my bills and I still saved my money. No.
Everybody, it goes back to cost of living too, and everybody's situation is different.
Yep.
But I know based on how persons talk to me, sound like, some persons get a less while working with certain persons.
Right.
So that's the impression I got. But I think cost of living pays up.
Cost of living a big.
Yeah.
So as I said, when I was in Arizona, my rent was $850.
Mm-hmm.
Everything included. When I got to New York, my rent was $1,400 and I still had to pay light, water, internet. So and it's the same pay. The pay.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you
that's a
see
vast
that,
difference.
right? And of course, my car insurance went up. A lot of factors went into when you got to when you depending on where you go. That's why when I hear people say, "Oh, I have to go to New York," or "I have to go here," I'm just like, y'all need to research a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
in terms of cost of living. But again, I think a lot of people, when they hear this $30 or this $32, you automatically are transferring it into Jamaican dollars, and you can't do that.
Can't.
You cannot do that because you're going to set up yourself for failure.
Yeah. You can do that, I think. But even when you come here, you still everything you buy, you still try to calculate it. But I think people need to research cost of living. Some things that you can do is just, plan ahead, find out the average cost for rent, average cost for like food, utilities, and try to see if you can survive on that. So cost of living for me also was a big factor. But I think when we hear New York as Caribbeans, we think, oh, it's beautiful. All that. It is, but cost of
It is
living.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So other questions I wanted to ask you, I think we touched on some already, is what advice would you give to some of our future international nurses who are waiting on their process and ready to start in the US?
Come with an open mind. Write down your long-term goals. You're not going to be a millionaire as soon as you get here and start working. If you are an older nurse like I was, because by the time I got here, I was 9 years already.
Mm-hmm.
You have to consider yourself again like a new grad because it's new experiences altogether.
Yeah.
Be realistic. I don't know what the companies are paying now, but if a company offers you $35, write down your bills that you have in Jamaica. See how best you can consolidate everything. Most people now have a mortgage.
Yeah.
So you have to see how best you can, whether you're going to rent out the house or you're going to sell your house, whatever. But you can't come thinking you can run two households on $35. Like, it's not going to happen. So you have to find out in your contract if you can work a PRN job, if you're entitled to overtime,
Right.
if you're entitled to shift differentials. Because I was on night duty, I didn't get shift differentials as a worker. But as a traveler now, I don't get shift differentials either.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you have to find out about. But one of the major things is to be realistic. Cost of living has gone up.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people come here and feel like, well, I can run two households. No, you have to live. Like, you have to live. And if you come and you say, boy, you are right with working 50, 60 hours a week, all power to you. All power to you. That was not my portion. Okay.
Nope.
I knew that I was not in that frame of mind to do that many hours because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so come with an open mind, be realistic, write down your long-term goals, write down your bills, and have fun.
Yeah.
Like, a hobby. Like, you need something. Like, for me, it's traveling. Like,
Yeah.
what you get frustrated, me I book a ticket. Like, money I forgot make back some way, somehow. And I mean, I get it. People do, oh, well, we have to save.
Yeah.
But me get it. I get it. But make me frustrated long enough. Me go book a ticket because what me not do, I make my head mad me. And so I'm gonna book a ticket and I'm gonna go somewhere. Or I'm gonna get my hair done, or I'm gonna get my nails done. You have to have something outside of the hospital.
Yes.
That you like to do or like to experience. And so that was one of the things that helped me as well, was that I knew I wanted to travel.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons as well why I was so big on, when I got to Arizona, I think I went to all the major national parks. Me and Google, I'm gonna just drive and gone somewhere.
By yourself?
By myself, me, myself, and I drove by myself 12 hours to California. Yeah, I had some extended time off and I was bored and I drove to Cali.
When I'm bored, I will drive like 2 hours or 30 minutes, but not 12 hours. I tell you, girl, you're blessed. You have a light on you. 12 hours, Sue. 12 hours.
Yeah. And when I got there, I booked myself in a hotel. And then I went and explored all by myself. Just me and Mr. Google. Kept me around all around the place. Yeah. Where was I? So yeah, you have to have a hobby outside of the hospital.
Yeah.
And as I always say, you have to know your why, because
Yes.
coming to America is not going to solve all your issues.
Uh-uh.
And it's not going to make everything better.
Mm-mm.
You just have a new set of issues. And so you have to have coping skills before you come here, or you're going to have to develop them very quickly.
Yep.
Because America can break you. It can.
Yeah.
And I've seen it break a lot of nurses. So, and don't listen to people. I mean, you pick and choose what you listen to.
Yeah.
If you have somebody who is always complaining. So for example, and again, I am not pro any one company, but I've heard people like bash the company that I came with. At the end of the day, they gave you a green card.
Yeah.
If them sponsor you, like, you won't be able to come. That's just me. And that's how I look at things, as being positive. Oh, but them can't do this. Yeah, they can. They could.
Business.
Business is business. Do you have a green card? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are you still complaining? Yeah, but you're complaining. I feel like every year, and this is why God won't bless some of us, because every time you give a blessing, you complain about the blessing. Yeah. You say you want to leave Jamaica and come a foreign, okay, make it come a foreign, you reach a foreign, you start complaining. Oh my God, like, at least sit in your blessing and realize that, oh wow, okay, all right. It might not so bad, life is from death, but it won't last forever.
Forever, yeah. It's just a time.
It's just a time. Again, read your contract. Know what is in your contract. Because your contract is almost like your Bible.
Yeah.
And they will use it against
you. Yeah.
And the people at your job are not your friends.
Nope.
Make sure that you are a good judge of character with people.
Yeah.
If you're not, those same people will throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I probably have more.
Those are some things that I always say to persons also. And the biggest one that I can take from you is come with an open mind, develop coping skills. And heavy on that one. And I like you mentioned travel, that you love to travel. Guys, I told Subi that we need group trips. She always all over the place, gone Spain, gone all over. We need group trips, honey. Start hosting. We need to see on social media, guys, is here, get ready with me, bags, all of that. We're anticipating that. You know how much persons would I love to come on them group trip there? You alone. Come on. Start the group trips. All of us are going to start. Come with you.
24, I will.
Yes. And we need a guide on travel nursing. We need that.
Oh, right. Yes. All right. Down. All right.
Yes. All right. So my last question, I know, transition as an international nurse, working as a travel nurse. You have seen like how the system is here, and we're giving that experience that you have from back home. What are some ways you think that our system back home needs improvement, especially in nursing?
So it would be nice to have a electronic health record system.
Yes, I saw it. Like, I don't know if you saw that news that they're rolling out a system recently.
I have a lot to say about that. So my thing is that it's not needed. And how I look at that is, I feel like you're rolling out new things that in about 2 or 3 years time going to need fixing, and you already can the CT machine where the people them need fixed. So my thing is, the system needs to be like a full overhaul.
Yeah.
PH needs to mash up and build back, because they keep patching and putting patches on it, and it's not helping. Like, how do you have a hospital that has elevators breaking down every 2 seconds? Yeah. CAT scan machines are not working, but you're rolling out an EHR system.
Yeah,
makes you know what I mean? I kind
yeah.
of feel like that's one of the frustrating parts of nursing in Jamaica, is like you don't have enough things to do your job. So it's like you have to be improvising. Now, improvising is good to a certain extent, but I do believe that improvising sometimes also increases the mortality rate for the patients. So it's almost like, yeah, try to make do with what you have.
Yeah.
And I know as well, I would also say, I don't compare the US to Jamaica anymore, because the US is a first world country.
Yeah.
Jamaica, as much as we like for going like we're a foreigner, we like foreigner them, we are a third world country.
Yeah.
Or somebody had corrected me, said developing. It's the same thing. But I don't do that comparison anymore, because I almost believe like it's apples and oranges, and I think that's unfair, because we make with what we have. Do we spend money unnecessarily in some places? Yes. Like that sign of I'm being never needed it. Like you could have used that for something else. You know what I mean? That money could have gone somewhere else. But again, I'm in politics, so we can't speak to it. But yeah, just the work environment, I think all of the hospitals need an overhaul. Like you shouldn't be on a floor with roaches. You shouldn't be on a floor where the nurses them not have a proper room where them can go and rest.
Yeah.
One nurse step on the floor, I don't know if it's the same way. One nurse step on the floor with 15 patients, like, you know, barely making do or getting by. Like, and it again, I feel like that's what disturbs some of the nurses' mental health as well.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes you go to a KPH nurse, they're mean, and I mean, look where them work. Look what they have to go through where they go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I think we need to have a more seamless process where people can go back to school. As I said, that's one of my frustrations. And also to get appointments. I think there's still people down there who are waiting for appointments. And I mean, I can't understand why. They try to explain it to me so many times, and I'm just like, my must done. Because you're explaining the system to me, and it's still not making sense what you're explaining.
Can't understand it either. That's a serious point too. But I think with a lot of nurses leaving the system, that's I don't know how many persons got appointment, but I saw a lot of persons going back to school because they didn't have anybody.
Okay. Yeah. To make that process a little bit more seamless. But yeah, I don't think that we can adequately compare the two, because it's two different. It's a first world and a third world country.
Yeah.
But the HR would be nice for you to have more tools to work with. That would be nice. And just the environment that you work into, that would be nice as well.
Yeah. Yes, my dear. Thank you so much for all that you have given. And we're so happy to have you over here. We need to have you back again. Next time she has the the group trips and the travel nurses guide. I'm super proud of you. You're the first nurse, and I said this to you already, the first nurse who came on social media, shared your experience. You're a trendsetter, the original, you know. I said it to you again. No, you're not. You know, to see somebody, when I saw you on social media, I said, wow, like you said, you're sharing some of the things that I was going through, and I was happy about that. I tell you that you're blessed. You have a light on you. You live without limits, and I like that. I wish you all the best for 2024. And thank you for coming on my platform. Gave some great insightful comments, and I hope the nurses back home will find this information useful.
Okay.